Bulginaka, do you know that cybercrime is becoming a growing problem in Fiji?
Cybercrime is defined as a crime in which a computer is the object of the crime, such as hacking and spamming.
Cybercrime is also cyberbullying and using fake profiles to cause panic and spreading false news.
If you're involved in this or know anyone who's committing these crimes, report them immediately.
I'm Polly.
And I'm Peter.
We host the Traffic Jam Show on City FM.
From 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. every weekday.
Do the right thing.
In this bulletin, nationwide curfew to start from 4 p.m. TCS are likely to make landfall in Bua. And Fijians move to safety.
From the studios of FBC Suva, Ateda Lendua.
There will be a nationwide curfew from 4 p.m. today until 6 a.m. tomorrow. Prime Minister Borenge Bainimarama has confirmed this to FBC News as Tropical Cyclone Yasa heads our way. This is being done to safeguard Fijians from any danger. Government is working closely with all disaster response agencies to ensure those who need assistance are given the help needed. The center of Tropical Cyclone Yasa is expected to be located very close or over the province of Bua at around 8 p.m. tonight. TC Yasa was located about 140 kilometers north-northwest of Yasawerara or 245 kilometers north-northwest of Nandi and 280 kilometers west-northwest of Rotuma at 8 a.m. today. Close to its center, the cyclone is expected to have average winds up to 250 kilometers per hour with momentary gusts to 350 kilometers per hour. The cyclone is moving east-southeast at about 18 kilometers per hour. On this track at 8 p.m. tonight, the cyclone center is expected to be located about 100 kilometers east of Yasawerara or about 90 kilometers west-southwest of Lambasa. The center of Yasa is expected to be about 50 kilometers north-northeast of Moala or about 75 kilometers east-southeast of Ngau or about 165 kilometers east of Suva at 8 a.m. tomorrow. Expect destructive storm force winds up to 110 kilometers per hour with momentary gusts up to 155 kilometers per hour. Felipe Naikaso joins us now live. Felipe, what else is the Nandi Met office saying about the approaching cyclone?
Yes, thanks, Ateda. And to explain further on that, I have with me here the Acting Director for the Fiji Met Office, Mr. Terry Atalifo. Mr. Atalifo, with Yasawa Irara also been experiencing some of the impacts from Tropical Cyclone Yasa. What about places such as Vanulevu, Rakiraki, the Ra province? What sort of impacts they can get from the next few hours?
Thank you, Felipe. Yes, so for the whole of Vanulevu group, especially from Hondo Point, all the way to Mbua and Nambawalu, these coasts, the risk of storm surges to affect these coasts are very high. A Category 5 cyclone, it's definitely going to generate a lot of storm surges, and therefore the coastal community is at risk as we speak. As the system tracks over the Mbua province by midnight tonight, referring to the center, these places are also under the area of destructive winds. So we expect a lot of destructive winds, especially the western half of Vanulevu, and including the Rakiraki to Tailevu area. So these areas are under warning for destructive winds. And as the system tracks further southeast, the Lomaiviti group, Ngau, Coral Island, all these islands are also at very high risk in terms of destructive winds and coastal inundation. With rain, yes, definitely the whole group is basically experiencing very heavy rain, and flooding is also a concern our officers are currently monitoring.
And just in the next 12 hours, what can the rest of the Fiji group expect from TC Yasa?
Yes, so these destructive winds, these heavy rain conditions, and the threat for coastal communities in terms of storm surge is going to persist in the next 12 hours and all the way up to 24 hours. So the Fiji group for the next day and a half these conditions will persist and most probably start easing from later Saturday to Sunday.
Mr. Talifu, thank you very much for your time.
Manaka.
Vinaka Filipe. Prime Minister Borenge Bainimarama is urging Fijians to stop all unnecessary movements as we anticipate the worst of Cyclone Yasa. Bainimarama says we expect heavy rain, flooding in low-lying areas and landslides. He's urging Fijians to take extra precaution.
Unit here, along with your fellow officers around the country, are likely already getting calls from communities unsure about whether it is safe to travel. Unless directed to evacuate by disaster authorities, everyone should be encouraged to stay home, stay off the roads, and stay out of floodwaters and stay safe.
A number of people in Nandi are still securing their homes as they don't want to get caught off guard. Earlier this morning, residents in the jet-set town were seen tying down their homes, cutting tree branches and putting up cyclone shutters. A family living in Wailoloa has even moved majority of their belongings to an elevated area as they are worried about storm surges. During TC Herald, they were caught by surprise when waves came into their home. Nandi residents were also seen doing last-minute shopping at a number of supermarkets and shops that were open. Most of these businesses have told FBC News that they're open to cater for the demand from the public. Some businesses say they will close after lunch to allow staff enough time to go home. Other businesses in the main town that are still open are putting up cyclone shutters and moving their items to an elevated area in case of flash flooding. Majority of these business owners say they're hoping the infrastructure damage is minimal as they're still trying to recover from COVID-19. The strong winds of TC Yasa are being felt all around Fiji. For villagers from Nangando in Sambeto Nandi, this is a repeat of TC Winston. Villagers are experiencing strong winds and rain. Over 1,000 villagers live in Nangando, and the village church and community hall are on standby as evacuation centers. 44 families living under and around the Energy Fiji Limited transmission lines in Cunningham have evacuated to Ndalena Masi Primary School as of yesterday afternoon. The National Disaster Management Office earlier said the evacuation to the school is being coordinated by first responders. FBC News visited the school this morning and saw that the residents have settled in well. Police officers also made their rounds ensuring everyone is safe and well looked after.
We had to evacuate because it was too dangerous. We were living under live power lines, so police told us to move for safety reasons.
We came from stage 1 in Cunningham. Police told us to move from there because TC Yasa was bringing strong winds and we do not want to take any risk.
Beggars and street dwellers in the Suva City area have been told to vacate the city and take shelter at evacuation centers. Police officers were seen helping beggars off the streets this morning. FBC News understands that they are being moved to Draimba Primary School and Turak. Earlier, these beggars and street dwellers chose to stay on the streets as they did not want to move to any evacuation center. Isikeli Toaleka says he understands that the cyclone is a Category 5 system and will move somewhere in case the weather worsens.
It's okay, but if it comes, then I think I'll need help and, to protect myself. But anyway, but just stay here. If it's gonna get worse, then I'll go find somewhere.
Eleanor joins us live from Savusavu now. Eleanor, with the landfall likely to happen in Bo tonight, how are the residents in Savusavu preparing for the impact of this monster cyclone?
Driving to Savu Savu this morning, there was heavy rain, and we also noticed that the winds were picking up. Along the way, we hardly saw people along the roads or even around the villages that we passed this morning. Or what we saw was that homes were secured. They were either boarded up or shutters were up. As we entered Savu Savu town this morning, we noticed that it was almost empty. The shops and businesses have been closed. The market and bus station completely empty. Only a few cars can be seen on the streets, as well as a few members of the public. Out on the bay, the small yachts have been brought inland to take shelter, as well as the other punts and small boats. Now, earlier this morning in Lambasa, before we left for Savu Savu, a few of the Irish crossings have been flooded due to the heavy rain experienced from last night until this morning. These are the Irish crossings at Bodha in Bombale, Mbulileka, the Urata Irish crossing, as well as Nreketi Lelai. Now, these crossings are completely inaccessible to both the public and the two vehicles. The concern, though, is there were some children who were, what can we say, having rain bath and playing along the way. There were some parents present as well, but we also saw police following us and monitoring or patrolling the area. So that is a good sign, though. In Mbua, we spoke to a few villages. They are currently experiencing strong winds and heavy rain. Most families have been moved to evacuation centers for their safety, and we will have more on this in our 7 p.m. bulletin. Ateda.
Take care, Lano, and thank you. Up ahead, Fijians continue preparation, and Yasawa faces brunt of TCSA.
Oira na ngone no dei nuni ena beising ni mataka.
Mersusunga da kena romandina kena mikron.
Sakena ngau na mitaro bina no rabaksa ka wala mataki na ngone. Dalabina oya o meliki.
Bulre oya o Samuel Samuli.
Nama kikirau ena be mataka.
Moniti kena magrombuka.
Ni waitiri kalima na miniti me ono kina tiri na kaloko. Ena Radio Fiji One nandomo ibiti.
Pinda na mataka dan ramai na singabo.
Calls made by the Ministry of Local Government for developers to securely tie down building materials and equipment seem to be falling on deaf ears. This as FBC News noted that cranes were still standing upright on 4 high-rise buildings under construction in the Suva city area. Minister Pramila Kumar had earlier said that they have sent out numerous email reminders to developers to not be complacent and secure the materials and infrastructure. Kumar had highlighted this issue as they are concerned with the safety of neighbours and Fijians. The Suva City Council this afternoon confirms that they're talking to building inspectors and developers to address this concern. Sandiani Mboila has been touring the Nosori area from this morning and joins us live now. Sai, what have you observed so far? We seem to be experiencing some difficulties. We'll come back to Sai after this. The Fiji Roads Authority is reminding motorists not to move road closure signs and attempt to drive around barricades that block flooded roadways. The FRA says these are placed for safety reasons. According to FRA, both Queens and Kings Road are open. In the Central Division, the old Wainandoi Road is closed. 3 roads are closed in the Western Division due to flooding. These include Katunrau Crossing, Narara 1 Crossing and Drana Crossing in Rakiraki. FRA is calling on Fijians not to swim, drive or walk in flood waters. The National Disaster Management Office has stressed that all public transportation should cease operation until further notice. These include buses, minivans and taxis. The NDMO says they issued an advisory last night for public transportation services to cease from 11 p.m. However, instructions seem to have fallen on deaf ears. FBC News saw few bus companies operating this morning. The NDMO says police officers are inquiring with these operators as to why they're still operating. Police Chief Operations ACP Abdul Khan confirms they're looking into the matter. The Fiji Bus Operators Association is also making an assessment. People in Ba were seen rushing to supermarkets to do their last-minute shopping this morning. Many people were seen buying necessities like food items, kerosene lamps, batteries and medicine. Motorists were also seen fueling up vehicles, while ordinary Fijians were also buying kerosene. Police officers were also present on the streets controlling traffic as heavy rain is now being experienced in Ba. Wind has also picked up since 10 this morning. And now we go back to Sai in Nosori. Sai?
Yes, they were here in Nosori. Most Fijians are still seen rushing into towns to do their last-minute shopping. Most shops that were open this morning, they are now closed. People are still seen in towns with kerosene gallons and other essential items. Some are still waiting for transport to get back home. There's also police visibility as they work to clear the town before 4 p.m. Nosori Town Council were also seen putting down bin carts to ensure the safety of assets in and around the town. We also managed to visit Vudi South, and we've seen Fijians still rushing to mini-marts to buy batteries and other essential food items. Teva.
Nakasai. Many villagers in the Yasawa group are experiencing the brunt of TCSA from early this morning. Soso village elder Choba Wunda says wind speed picked up at around 5 a.m. with a heavy downpour. Wunda adds some of their farms have been destroyed. He says the strong winds have generated damaging heavy swells and storm surges are causing coastal flooding.
The weather worsened early this morning. The wind picked up with heavy rainfall. But we are thankful that all houses are secure and a majority of villages are in the evacuation center. We are expecting things to get worse in the next few hours.
Fijians in the Ra province are starting to experience heavy downpour and strong winds from 10 this morning. Tokaimalo village member Waisale Hingawale told FBC News the nearby river burst its banks at around midday. He says about 30 Nayau Levu and 57 Maniava villages are currently being evacuated and taken to the Tokaimalo district school.
The water level in nearby creek is going up, and it's going towards the village, especially Nelevu village. It is close by to the creek or the lake in Nelevu. Okay, in Tokaimalo we're experiencing heavy downpour right now, and evacuation centers have been occupied since yesterday.
Severe tropical cyclone Yasa Category 5 system was located about 140 kilometers north-northwest of Yasawe-Rara, 245 kilometers north-northwest of Nandi, and 280 kilometers west-northwest of Rotuma at 8 this morning. And that's FBC News now. Join us again at 7 p.m. for our major bulletin. For news you can trust, get the facts from FBC's TV, radio and digital news at fbcnews.com.fj, keeping Fijians connected with the truth. Keep safe, Fiji.
हमारे खूबसूरत देश फिजी में चाइल्ड अब्यूज की घटनाएं आए दिन बढ़ रही है।
क्यों बच्चों का मासूम बचपन अब्यूज का शिकार हो जाता है?
अपने बच्चों की सुरक्षा का खास ख्याल रखें।
उनसे बातचीत करें, उनके दोस्तों के बारे में जानें।
आज के बच्चे देश का भविष्य है। मैं दीप्ति
और मैं मोनिश,
आपके हमसफर। शामिल हो जाए हमारे साथ मंडे टू फ्राइडे
5:45 AM से 10 AM तक
रेडियो फीजी 2 देश की धड़कन पर।